Hey y'all, welcome back to a new video. A few weeks ago, last year, I posted this video about purchasing cosmetics secondhand. So today we're going to do the flip side, which is selling cosmetics secondhand. I almost feel like there's more to know about selling than there is to know about buying. Because as a buyer, you're looking at a listing. As a seller, you're putting together that listing, and then you have to package and yada. We'll get into it. I have notes. So first of all, let's talk about the pros and cons of selling your used makeup. First of all, it's a good way to make extra money. Like that's, if you have something that is nice but that you're not using anymore and that it's easily sanitizable, that right there is the big thing, especially with cosmetics, is they need to be sanitized. I will not be selling something with a doe foot that you're going to be contaminating the entire tube, especially if it's a lip product or an eye product. No. However, if it's a stick and it can just be sprayed with alcohol, easy. So before you're selling, decide why you're selling products. Are you selling them to get them out of your collection? Or are you selling them because you want the extra money? Because those are two sides of the same coin. In order to get them out of your collection, you're going to be looking at pricing them a little lower and being a little bit more flexible about what you're willing to accept. If you're looking to make money on them, you're going to be waiting a little while longer to reap the rewards of that sale, and you may end up needing to lower your price in the long run. You may also need to consider, okay, this is something I want to move out of my collection. Who's paying for shipping? Because that is your decision. Do you pay for shipping and thus take a cut out of your profits? Or do you have the buyer pay additional for the shipping? That's all stuff that you need to decide. So I've got some do's, I've got some don'ts, I've also got some randoms. So we'll go through it. Sell items that you'd want to buy. I have seen so many products out there where someone has hit pan, something has been not just gently used. Like that right there is the operative word, is gently. Don't sell stuff that has heavy use. Don't sell a half-empty bottle of foundation. Now, if you have a half-empty bottle of perfume, completely different. Go for it, but do not expect to get retail price. I'm getting ahead of myself, but these all feed into each other. So selling things that have usable amounts of product is one thing. Selling something that is half used because you are done with it is another. That is another element to consider. Look online, do a little research before you post your sale. Understand that there are going to be a lot of things out there that are the same as yours. I know that in January and February, right after Lucky Bags drop from Beautylish, the secondhand market floods with products. I know that my Natasha Denona Roxa palette, which I still have, I'm working on a video about it, and other Natasha Denona palettes would not have sold for much. So I was like, do I want to hang on to it and use it for videos and use it for research? Or is it something that I'm okay like selling for $15? And I decided to keep it because it has more worth to me right now. And if I'm going to sell it used, I'm going to sell it used. That right there is the big differentiation. So look at things that are similar to what you have. You know, if you are selling the transparent Chanel Baume Essential, look online and see what others are selling theirs for, and that'll give you a baseline for where to set your prices. Understanding that most buyers are going to try and get you to come down a few dollars. It's your option to say no to that, but we'll get into that. Consider market saturation. If you are selling a pan, a mini of NARS Laguna that people have gotten in their birthday gifts from Sephora, that they've gotten in subscription boxes, they've gotten in gift bags, there is a really heavy market saturation, and that is going to reduce the price that you are able to sell yours at. So consider the cost benefit analysis of whether or not it's worth it to sell this thing, or put it in a package with something else. Package it with a bunch of other powder cheek products as a low-priced bundle. I don't like the idea of passing on my problem products to other people. I like to deal with them myself. But if you have a mini of NARS Laguna and you don't want it, dispatch with the powder, recycle the packaging, and move on. That is my advice. Don't sell things that are so heavily market saturated that it's going to cost more to ship it than it will to just recycle it. Do you consider your desirability an age? So going back to our, NARS Laguna example, how many people want a mini of NARS Laguna? If you have been around for any period of time, if you have been around the cosmetics industry, you have probably at some point gotten a sample of NARS Laguna, and thus you know how you feel about it, and you're not going to go out of your way to buy a mini that's being sold, especially an old one. NARS has since changed their packaging. It used to be rounded. This is their new packaging. It's square. Now, again, these are full size. They also changed the packaging for minis. So it's easy for a buyer to look at your listing and tell from your photos how old that product is and how desirable it is. Because I can tell you, things with heavy market saturation sit longer. They sit longer. Also consider the age. As I was saying with package design, it's easy to tell how old something is. And if you've got an eagle eye for like pan texture, so on and so. Don't sell stuff that's too old to use. Don't sell stuff that's outside of its expiration date. And everything has a date. You've got a little, come on. On the bottom, there's a little jar right there that has, it's like an open lid, and then there's a number in there. And what is this one? This is 12 months. So things to consider: desirability, age, use. What kind of quality is it in? Is it something that you yourself would be interested in purchasing? That right there is the basic question that one needs to ask before selling your secondhand makeup. Is it something that you would want to buy? All right. If you have something that you purchased new and you're like, okay, I paid $120 for this Pat McGrath palette, I'm not going to list it for $120 secondhand after it's been opened and used. It's not going to fetch that value. Value here is indeterminate. Value is either making a little bit of money off of it or getting out of your collection. You can do both, but you're going to have to compromise. But what we need to remember is that as soon as you open a product and you start using it after you are outside of that return window, that product has lost half of its appreciation. It's the driving the car off of the used car lot model. So when you purchase a car and you drive it off the lot, it immediately drops in appreciation. It depreciates. I don't know how much it depreciates, but it goes down in value. So even if you turn around and you sell it back to the car lot, you're not going to get what you paid for that vehicle. Kind of the same idea with makeup. If I buy a $65 Natasha Denona palette and I get it home and I use it and I don't like it and it's too late to return it, or I can't return it, selling it at $65 is going to sit there. So you have to realize that pricing is going to play a huge part in whether or not you're actually able to make that sale and get that product moving on to somebody else. One of my biggest pet peeves when I'm scrolling the used cosmetics market, because that is something that I take a great deal of interest in, especially with the cost of everything going up and with our accessibility to certain products being reduced due to tariffs. I like to look within the makeup that's already on the market versus what's brand new. Do not sell collections of samples. I have a sample of the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. That means I'm going to look at the ounces and I am going to figure out how much that package of Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream is worth in comparison to a full size, and then I'm going to price. Don't do that. Don't do that. Slap that sample into a package of something that somebody else has already bought. Because if it's an easy skincare product like that, they will use it or they will pass it along. Don't try and sell samples. Because as somebody who has been in the makeup community for a long time, I can tell you nothing grinds my gears worse than seeing somebody collect a bunch of samples and then determine what they're worth and try and get one over on people saying, oh, I'm being so clever. No, it's not clever. It's not smart. It's not fun. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. So throw those samples in with your larger sales. I am all for including a sample or two. Do not throw in old samples, open samples, broken sample packaging, anything like that. If you don't want it, nobody else does. That right there is the thing to remember when it comes to samples. We are living in an era of oversaturated markets when it comes to things like samples, fragrances, skincare. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. We already talked about sanitizing. So how does one sanitize? Easy. I have a bottle of rubbing alcohol. This is an old Fix Plus bottle that I marked in nail polish. This is my Chanel Gomme Essential. I'm going to wind up the entire stick, and then I'm going to spray it. I'm going to let this dry, open, and then as soon as it's dry, I will twist it back down into the tube, and it will be ready for sale. I'm not selling it. I love it. I'm actually wearing it today, and I think it's quite lovely. That is an example. Make sure that your products can be sanitized. Let's talk about pricing, because I've touched on this a little already. So price fairly. Price fairly. Don't assume worth. That means this palette I got in my lucky bag is $65. If I am trying to pass this into somebody else's hands, get it out of my collection, I'm probably going to start this at about $30. That is where my brain goes. Now, let us look online for the same product and we'll see what happens. So I use Mercari. I don't really use Poshmark that much. I have switched to Mercari. They tend to be better for not just cosmetics, but also like indie brands. You're going to find more of the Cleonas, the Phytosurgents. It's easier to find things that are more specific. That was word salad. All right, we're looking at the Roxa palette. Here is what I'm seeing. I'm going to screenshot this and insert it. I see, all right, so there are 6 actual Roxa palettes on Mercari right now. If I wanted to put mine up for sale and have it sell pretty quick, I would list mine at below $50. I would list it $50 or below. We've got one at 50, we've got 59, 55, 56, and 71. 71. This palette retails for $65. Or it used to. Let's double check that. Has it been discontinued? Because I'll tell you something, even if it's been discontinued, your palette is not worth over market value. Market value, MSRP, so manufacturer. Alexa, what does MSRP stand for? Manufacturer suggested retail price.
The manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, is the price suggested by the manufacturer to be the retail price of a product. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Thanks for your feedback.
So it is still on Natasha Denona. It's still available at Ulta Beauty. For some reason, Sephora didn't have it. But it is still available. It's on the cosmetic market, and it retails at $69. So do you think... And then on top of it, you have $6.29 for shipping. So that brings a $69 palette up to almost $80 resale. I don't care if it's new. I don't care if it's never been opened. I don't care if it's never been swatched. That is not responsible pricing. That is not going to sell in a time frame that's going to be worth it. It's going to sit there, and here's the thing, the longer something sits on the retail market, the longer the item itself is going out of date. I don't think we have this understanding that cosmetic products they have a self-destruct date. They have a date at which they are no longer able to be used or sold. The pigment's going to wear out, the waxes are going to separate, and selling used products is just selling products that are outside of their expiration date and have been sitting for a long time is irresponsible. I had the Pat McGrath Mothership 10, I think, Moonlit Seduction, and it sat on the retail market at about $45 for almost a year. And at one point I just said, you know what? I've had enough. I dropped the price to $20. Somebody bought it. I had money in my pocket and I got it out of my collection. This is what I mean when I'm saying decide whether you want that product to make money or to leave, because they're not mutually exclusive, but you're pretty much going to have to pick your fight. You should also price expecting lowball offers. People do this all the time. You'll have something listed at $35 and someone will be like, I want to pay $32. You can say, no, the price is firm, and they might turn around and just purchase it anyway. I've gotten messages from people saying, oh well, LOL, it was worth trying. Don't do that. As a purchaser, don't do that. As a seller, expect it. Don't assume that because something is discontinued, it is going to fetch a higher price, especially if it's used. If you are selling something like the KVD, God, what was that palette? Mi Vida Loca palette, which was coming out, like it was being discontinued just as I was coming into the makeup community in 2017. Like, it's expired. You're not going to be able to use it. But if you are a collector of Kat Von D and that is something that you have yet to obtain, that's one thing. So purchasing it as a collector and selling it to collectors versus like, hey, this palette is still usable. You need to let it be known that this has been discontinued. It's out of age. It's past its usability date. And yes, a lot of the onus of that falls on the purchaser to look at a product and realize how old it is and is it worth purchasing to use it? Or is it just worth purchasing to own it and display it? That palette's a gorgeous palette. I would be thrilled to just have it on my wall. It's gorgeous. But I'm not going to buy it if I'm just looking to have a rainbow matte palette. I hope this is making sense. The gold palette from Natasha Denona. I see those out there everywhere. I see them online. And they're marked up $200 and $300. The problem is, judging from when that palette was discontinued, those palettes that are being sold are no longer going to be usable. They're going to be out of their expiration dates, and the products may not be... Natasha Denona powders go off. Like, they really do. You can tell when you touch her powders if they are still within, if they're still usable. Understand why you're selling something and have the presence of mind to say, you know, this is not something that you want to put on your face because I've had it since 2019 and it's currently 2025, which is insanity, but nonetheless. All right. So don't assume that something being discontinued is going to fetch a higher price. That's what I'm saying. Retail price is irrelevant. What you paid for something is not necessarily what it's going to sell for. Because unlike clothing, makeup goes bad. Makeup goes off. So when you bought something in 2019 and you bought that gorgeous Natasha Denona gold palette, it was great. Now you try and sell it. Yes, it's discontinued, but it's also not going to be usable. So as a purchaser and a seller, yeah, I have the perspective of both ends. A purchaser is going to look at that and be like, oh my God, that's expensive, not knowing that that palette has been discontinued, and I'm rambling and I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, don't expect to make your retail price back on whatever it is you're selling, whether it's your Natasha Denona Roxa palette, which was $69, or whether it was your $85 Chanel blush. Don't expect to make back retail value, even if something has been discontinued and is considered a collector's item, because chances are it's been used. All right, now we're getting to posting. When posting your images, when posting your product, make sure that you have clearly defined the product name. What color is it? What brand is it? How much use has it had? Those are all things that you are responsible for informing a purchaser of. Use your own photos. Take photos in well-lit areas that show the color, the shade name, and any use or flaws. You can then go back and screenshot the original post so that you have those images when you are ready to post. I have seen so many blushes of this, so many photos of RMS Maiden's blush shot in different light. You don't know what it looks like unless you actually go to their website or you look at swatch photos and you have some understanding, like, okay, it's a rosy brown blush, but it's got a nice texture to it versus being completely matte. As a seller, it's your responsibility to give the purchaser as much information as possible. And as a purchaser, it is their responsibility to delineate information and apply it to their own needs. So you should use the original listing. You use the photos, use the contents, the ingredients list. Like that's big. And make sure that you just put it all in the description as well. I know some people just want to post photos, but it helps to have it in the writing as well. Make sure that as you post things, you sanitize them and you set them aside so that as soon as those sell, you can put them in a bag and you can get them on their way. And this gets us to shipping, because I have had enough. I've had enough with people putting things in bags and taping all the way around them, and then you can't use that bag again. Or you have to cut off the top and then you can fold down this. I had to destroy a package to get a shirt out. I ordered another chambray shirt because I love this one so much. I was like, I need two. Okay, y'all. So I just got this package. I'm trying not to show you my address, but this is taped to high hell. It's in a circle. It's like taped all the way around, and there's no way to actually open this without completely destroying the bag and it going into landfill. This is what I'm talking about with excessive packaging. All they needed to do was fold it over and tape it shut. But instead they taped the label over everything, and it's like laminated on top of it. And there's really no way to get this out without completely destroying the packaging and adding. And I didn't want to cut it because I was afraid of cutting into the shirt, but it was like continually looped and then taped around, and I didn't have a choice. All right, I had to change out my battery. Posting. Okay, so after posting and after making that sale, you'll get a message saying, hey, you made a sale. Fabulous. try and get it in the mail as soon as possible. I have had to wait a couple of days because my home printer has been on the fritz and it thinks it has a paper jam. I don't have a label printer. I wish I did. Maybe I'll invest in one. But on top of that, let me show you how I package my stuff. Okay, so as somebody who makes a fair amount of sales, I keep a bin that always has packing material as well as thank you cards. This is a box of, I think this was 100 postcards. Yeah, 100 postcards. They're all different roses. They're florals, they're pretty, and like me being me, I will like pick a card that goes with that sale. So if I've sold a coral blush, I will pick a card that has a little bit of coral in it. Or if I've got a red, because I'm a nerd. You don't have to do that, but I'm a nerd and I like to do that. The thing I really like about this is it's one card. It doesn't need an envelope. It doesn't need a stamp. It doesn't need anything. You write on the back, thanks for your purchase. I hope you enjoy it. Use the customer's name. Use the purchaser's name. That makes a big difference in them understanding like, oh, hey, you wrote that for me. I hate pre-printed thank you notes. I hate them. They're tacky. But again, this is me. This is not everybody. This is me. In my opinion, it takes 30 seconds to sit down, look at the purchaser's name, write it on a card, say, you know, hey, Eleanor, thanks for your purchase. Enjoy your blush. Thanks, Rachel. It takes 30 seconds to do that, but it makes an impression and it makes that purchaser more likely to go back to your store. So, reuse packing materials. If it's something that comes sealed over like this, all you have to do is slice open the top and then you can reuse it again. Perfectly nice mailer. I'm not turning it around because my address is on the other side. Do, if you can, peel off labels that have a barcode on them. So if you have a label, you have a package that has a label, rip as much of the barcode off as possible. This is because when you place a label over it, scanners, only if you are placing a label on that is printed on anything but label stickers, like the white printing labels that have like a metallic look on the back, they're not going to cover up this barcode. I have used paper, I have used all kinds of stuff for labels. Take off as much of the label as you can get. I scribbled out my address. That way you make sure that the package gets where it's going and it's not sent back to you. I've had that happen before. Let's talk about excessive packaging. Excessive packaging. So depending on what I'm selling, I sold, let's look at the Chanel Baume Essentiel. Okay. It's a high-end product. It's nice. It's heavy. It's mostly full on the inside. All right. I don't need to excessively package this. I want to keep the packaging, the component, in good condition. So I am going to wrap it in bubble wrap. I don't necessarily need to tape it. I just want to cushion it. And then you can put it in your envelope with your card, seal her up, and send her on her way. Flip side of that is going to be if you're selling something really delicate. So here we have a palette of singles that I'm actually taking into the ceramics workshop, and I'm going to find a way to burnish these into my clay. But if I was shipping these, I'd want to make sure they arrived in one piece. So I put a folded piece of paper towel or tissue on top. Really press into the powders so that they don't jiggle and break. Close it up, tape it up really well, package it with more bubble wrap, and then put it in a box that's packed with either plastic bags or more like packing material so that this can shift if it needs to, but it's not going to be really jiggly. And it's going to make, the point is making sure the product that you're selling arrives on time and arrives in one piece. The one piece is important. You also want to be careful of fragrance. And I know that with cosmetics, it's not as big a deal, but I have gotten packages that have had perfume samples, and as soon as I open them, I get hit with a migraine. This is part of my, samples are the bane of my existence. When it comes to clothing, I'm just going to touch on this briefly. When it comes to clothing, make sure they're washed. Try and use fragrance-free detergents and fabric softeners, because you never know whom you're sending it to and what sensitivities they have to fragrance. And again, it's going to reflect poorly on you. They're going to get it home. They're going to be really unimpressed. I have given I gave a seller 4 stars because I did not appreciate that my garment, though recently washed, had been washed in a very heavily fragranced detergent. And she sent me a message saying, I'm sorry that you thought having a clean garment was worth 4 stars. She was being very snarky. And I was like, look, you're not me. You're not on my side of the package. And I didn't appreciate that the garment that I bought was so heavily fragranced. So keep that in mind. I know people use scented tissue paper. I hate it. I hate it. Just be neutral, clean, clean it. Make sure things do not smell. All right. Don't use perfume heavy fragrances. Package according to breakability. And include a thank you card. It's pretty easy. And send in a timely manner. If something happens, I was sick when I made a sale and I could not get myself to the post office to get the label printed, and I couldn't ask anybody to do it for me. So I sent them a message. I was like, hey, I'm laid up right now. Thank you for your purchase. I will try to get it in the mail as soon as I can, probably early next week. And you're going to get notifications from the platform that you sold through saying, have you sent it yet? The buyer is waiting. Come on, have you sent it? And you can let them know, hey, I'm sick. Give me a few days. But it is always better to send sooner rather than later. And that's where having all of the elements lined up to purchase and get your sales out fast is going to reflect well on you, and it's going to make people want to patronize your store more frequently. I'm sure there's stuff I've left out and I might need to re-record this, but we'll see. Those are the big do's and don'ts of selling cosmetics secondhand. It's a lot and it takes effort. It really does. It takes effort. It takes understanding what it means to receive something secondhand and then reverse engineering the process. Saying, okay, as a purchaser, what would I like to have done? This was a bad experience. What would have made it a good experience? And I try to make sure that every buyer, every customer that comes through my shop gets a good experience. And that really is what's going to keep people coming back. If you're looking to get rid of one thing, that's something. But if you're looking to continually be selling and buying and selling and buying, which is what I do. Most of my fancy ass makeup, my Victoria Beckham bronzer, the Chanel highlighter, secondhand. I don't buy this stuff new. It's expensive. And I am afraid that with the cost of living and tariffs, we are going to see a steady increase in the makeup that goes into the secondhand market, if not a decline. We'll see what happens, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the economy tanks. It's where we are. Yay! Okay. I hope you all found this helpful. I hope you found it interesting and informative. If you have anything to add or additional questions, please leave those down in the comments. I'm always more than happy to interact. I hope you are taking care of yourselves so you can take care of each other, and I'll see y'all later. Bye, friends. Those were not kisses. I don't know what those were. Okay, off we go. Why long try and waste my time, and I say spite. 'Cause every time you are succeeding, there's an old man somewhere seething, and Spicer's got a reason to take his power. When you hate the body you are in, love your acting just for him, so he counts his gold and green in his ivory tower.